Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
What is news? The new definition of news does not change. On which news is put out that change. It is also how the medium goes out. For example, started out, but somebody sent it, and from that, see where we have come now. So once again, what used to be just a newspaper then became TV, then became internet, then became private TV, and then now is everything. Now this phone is everything. In fact, more than 90% of our readership and viewership today is on this little thing. So that area has revolutionized. That is a very big change. The other thing that has changed is people's attention spans. So the time people had earlier when they read newspapers in the morning, and I have traveled across the country. Don't tell me that because people were illiterate in the past, they were not influenced by newspapers. I've seen people early morning when they gather at the village chai shop. The newspaper wala will come and drop the Hindi newspaper or any regional newspaper. In that, a crowd would gather, and anybody who can read will then read the news to everybody. So people still follow news, but they have less patience for it. So they want it quickly. Also, right now, today, people are a lot more opinionated. People in India were always opinionated, but now they are more opinionated, and there are more choices for opinion. Earlier, it was mostly Indira Gandhi, because she was the one who would sweep everything in Congress party, and a few here and there. But now, opinion is very sharp, very polarized. That is the difference. But essential definition remains the same. Essential definition is, as we are told on our first day in journalism school, which was some time back for me, 5 W's and 1 H. So what are the 5 W's? What, where, who, why, when, and 1 W is how. Now, what happens today is the big change is that everybody, all of you, and that includes people at all strata, they know what, where, and when, because they know the basic news. So in journalism, our challenge now is to talk about what is left. That is why, how, and to this I add one more W, which is what next. So that is what journalism has become now. Because otherwise, something or the other will give people the news. Somebody famous dies, everybody will know somebody famous has died. They will also know where. They will also know when. They will also know, in most cases, how somebody died of a heart attack or COVID or this or that. To now make sense of news, that is the big.
That from Indian Express, but at the same time, when there is a skepticism, the skepticism is death of print has already happened, and in the last couple of weeks, the Ahmedabad Mirror and the Mirror stories well known. So how you see that people one way talking about there is nothing called news because everybody has the information. So the pious attitude of news has changed. Everybody is information rich, and the industry and sector is challenged. Because death of print, it seems like inevitable. What we say, platform may be transition, but purpose is still there. So how in that chaotic clutter, that how you manage and navigate through in the present structure?
Look, we can't change fundamentally because we've been trained at doing something for a long time, for a very long time. Now, when you've done something for a very long time, then you think, why should I change it fundamentally? So why should we change it fundamentally today for traffic, for revenues, for anything? Because whatever we've been doing is working. It has worked so far for us. Why should it not work now? But we have to then adapt to platforms. We have to adapt to, I will not say changing audience tastes, but changing audience needs. So that's the reason we say that now you have to go into why, how, and what next. See the papers and publications around the world which are now successful, who have now beaten these blues. New York Times,
New York Times,
Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, the Economist, and there are papers in all other languages that obviously we know less about. So these are papers who have figured out how to do journalism today. So that's one challenge. The second challenge, because you are at MICA, is also the business models. Now, when you see these mirrors shutting down, don't see that as death of print. The print is in crisis, but don't see that as the death of print, because Bennett Coleman in India, Bennett Coleman Limited is a superpower. So it's like America. Tomorrow they can send their armies to Afghanistan and bomb the daylights out of the nation, flatten the mountains. Then someday they can decide to pull out all their forces and lead Afghanistan back to the Taliban. So a superpower has all those rooms for maneuver. So that is what Bennett Coleman is doing. They launched the mirrors with a purpose. The purpose was, I'm so sorry to be rationalizing Bennett Coleman's decisions. One organization I have never worked for and I'll never work for, simply because my own skill set is at complete contradiction with their skill sets. So opposites can't work together. So they launched these publications because they saw a threat. The threat was DNA was coming up in Mumbai and other places. DNA was backed by big money. That big money was Bhaskar Group, which is well known in Ahmedabad, Bhaskar Group, and also the Z Group. They were both very rich organizations. In fact, Z might have had more money at that point than Bennett Coleman. So this was seen as a threat. So if you talk to people at Bennett Coleman, particularly Mr. Samir Jain, he will tell you his flotilla theory. That what is a flotilla? That when a very important ship goes out, when the flagship of your navy goes out, when aircraft carrier Vikramaditya goes out, it doesn't go out by itself. The big flagship goes, then it has a few frigates, a few destroyers, one submarine going underneath, a few planes flying overhead. That is to protect everything, because everybody wants to take down your flagship. So if you look at Bennett Coleman, their flagship was Times of India, and even more importantly, Times of India Bombay and Times of India in the Western zone. That is Mumbai, Pune, Ahmedabad. So when that happened, they added another ship to their flotilla. Bennett Coleman already had a flotilla. They had the Times of India, they had the Economic Times, and they had Navbharat Times, and they had Maharashtra Times in Marathi. So they added one more local paper, a city paper in a new genre, which will have two purposes. One, it will vacuum clean whatever revenues Midday was getting and see what happened to Midday. And second, it will then block off DNA, and later as HT launched in Mumbai as well. So whatever advertising was left after Times of India Group, Times, ET, Maharashtra Times combination had already vacuumed it, already sucked it out. जो थोड़ा बहुत बचा वो आपका सिटी पेपर ले लेगा. तो जो बेचारा नया आया है उसके लिए कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं. जो टेंडर वेंडर होंगे वो एक्सप्रेस में आ जाएंगे बिकॉज वो सस्ते होते हैं स्टैट्यूटरी नोटिसेस. So there was nothing left. So even when DNA built up its circulation to 4-5 lakhs, it got no ads because people had no money left. So this was with that purpose. Now that DNA has shut down, and shutdown looks like for good, and the market conditions are like this, the Times sees no need to keep spending money on this. So that organization works purely like a corporate. They have no sentiments attached to their brands. I don't say this like a value judgment. That is how the corporates ought to be. If a brand is not necessary, the brand ceases to exist. And all of your students at MICA, you will understand all this much better than people like us, who are still old romantics, and we tend to be emotional about our brands and about things like that.
No, thank you sharing for this insight. And then actually, when it is coming from you, it gives that understanding that how what we have been talking, that in the courses and classes that you have to write your own obituary, so that too you can reinvent yourself. And then just to continue with this, traditionally that you are the part of the story that when we see business and content side of a media organization, it works up, so operates completely different, be it the older times of Indian Express stories and other stories. But just slowly, where our interest is also the new age entrepreneurial journalism. And I think you are one of the first mover to prove it. That the way it happened, that it's no more that content is different, editorial and business side. And how in that, particularly in today's context, news journalism and the entrepreneurial segment are in digital media and individual journalism. Like so, somebody with 2 million followers, it no less like a media organization. And they do break stories, and people like you and your organization do break stories as well. How you see and create the roadmap to ensure a fine balance between the news, information, and business of news at present context?
See, first of all, there is a principle that we have to imbibe. And that principle is that there is no contradiction between good journalism and the marketplace. Because just as there is no contradiction between a good toothpaste and the marketplace, why should they be? Why should you put more masala, which is not going to be any good for you? Because people want news from news. People want gyan in an easily comprehensible way, in a way that they can trust. So you don't have to twist that too much. There is no contradiction. Second, increasingly, journalists have to learn how the business works. I got thrown into it sort of fortuitously, I would say, because in the Express, in a certain crisis situation, I was ordered to take over simultaneously as the CEO as well. And I was completely at odds. And I obviously wanted to say no because it was scary. And I could not even tell debit from credit on a balance sheet. Actually, no. But I only said yes because I loved my job as the editor of the Express too much. And I realized that the company was in such a crisis that to keep my first job, I had to take a second job, which is the CEO's job. And I learned on the job. And as you go ahead and learn, you realize that you can keep a Chinese wall, two chambers in your mind. And I used to jokingly tell people that there is still a Chinese wall between editorial and marketing and sales. I am sitting on top of that Chinese wall. And it's for me to then decide where I'm looking at which point of time. So if you do that, you find that this model works quite well, but you have to be very thick-skinned.
And then just to continue with the same parameter, so there are two actually our students, we had a discussion before, they wanted to see it in both ways. They wanted to see news at the holy cow of that segment from you, and also news, the business part of that. So first, let me get into that business part, and then I'll come to the other side slowly. That in this context, we have seen in globally, you have given the example of New York Post, and then some of the others like Pakistan, the Dawn, and then many other economics, the proudly they claim. So here, that there is a emerging phenomenon that which is you are practicing, and many other, that independent journalist, and then sticking to the ethics part of that. At the same time, there are hegemonal journalism. That yes, you have given one example. There are many more. In the fight between two, one segment is there is a potential for future growth, but another segment has not given up yet. They have still that mindset of controlling the segment of news, so monetizing, so revenue, so the growth. And for them, the emotional connect, umbilical cord is nothing. And the other segment, those who love the story, those who love to contribute, are the fourth pillar of that. So how the journey in future you are seeing, how it is going to evolve?
Well, the conflict will remain the same. Again, mediums will change, methods will change, but conflict will remain the same. The conflict is how to do what kind of journalism that you can monetize. I know the monetize is not an expression we used to hear until about 10 years back, but now it's the most fashionable one. So what has changed now is that digital technologies are so easy. They are so easy that even I can learn to use them. I'm not by no means a digital native. I even got myself a Twitter account only 6 years back. I still don't have a personal Facebook page. So I'm a complete foreigner to this. But still, I can learn it. I mean, I think the reason Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and all these people have made so much money, and Mark Zuckerberg, they make so much money, is that they have developed technologies that idiots can use. So what those technologies have done is it has empowered a lot of people to operate on new media. The second thing is this technology is so cheap. It is so cheap that entry barriers to media business have now really come to nothing. Earlier, you had to set up a big press, buying those humongous machines, which are mostly imported or bought in India, but they cost many tens of crores. Then you have to buy newsprint, which costs a lot of money. For a company like Bennett Coleman, for example, newsprint will be about 30-35% of their costs, which is a lot. And that's imported. Government also, whenever it wants to squeeze the media, puts duty on it. If you had a TV channel, and then once you had a press, you had to have so many blue-collar workers. Blue-collar workers would then be unionized. So you will have to have an IR head and constantly, I mean, in my case, there were many times that every Friday I used to hear Murdabad right behind my window. And why on Friday? Because these guys knew that Friday afternoons I write my column National Interest. So that is the time to give me the most trouble. So they'll be behind my window and shouting Murdabad, Murdabad, Murdabad. I think once or twice I got really hassled, but our very experienced IR head told me, सर इसकी परवाह नहीं करें, हमारे बिजनेस में ऐसे कहते हैं इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस में कि जब कोई आदमी आपके लिए एक बार that is not necessary. You don't need a plant. Similar, not needed anymore for digital. Then you had to give money to cable operators. To distributors are a cartel in India. Whether they're cable operators or they are satellite operators, they take away most of the revenues. But in digital, nothing of the sort. So digital has empowered journalists like us. Digital has also empowered the audiences. So now you find that so many people, in fact, people keep saying that print is declining and dying. Much more than that, let me tell you that it is TV news that is declining and dying. What is working on TV news is not news. That is Commando Comics, right?
Yes.
We don't even watch it because we know who's saying what, because they even say for and against, right? And each one comes with the same script, and sometimes the same people go from channel to channel to channel to channel. So that's nonsense. And I think people are getting tired of that. So if you ask me, that is a more endangered species than the print in India.
But it's an interesting question. There are interesting points again. But my the same question to you is that there is a very swift transition. The swift transition not from the creator, from the consumers as well. Because typically we say that, and in some way the psychologist somewhere endorse that our attention span has gone down to some seconds and all. So blogs being represented by so popularly known as blogs, video journalism and all that. Somebody, a guy from Faridabad sitting somewhere, getting 10 million followers and making a lot of big cars. And I don't want to take the brand's names and all that here. But by saying all this, the transfer that the words, the writing, the reading a piece of news, now shifting to for a once a minute video in WhatsApp and or in Twitter. And they do have their own business model, and in the same way, television, the way it is claiming. So in the swift transition, I do see there is a consumer transition also. There is a because where are they? Where are the consumers? If somebody putting a 1 minute video, getting a 1 million, 2 million viewership in 24 hours, Of course, digital monetization has a different route for that. So do you see that the transition from the writing words and reading something to blog and podcast nowadays also catching up is going to replace the same age-old phenomena of reading and impacting news?
Well, I think everything will add to everything. So some people will use one, some the other, some the other. And very often you can do the same thing in different media. Now, if you look at Cut the Clutter actually is long format. It takes time. And I keep trying to cut it shorter, but I'm used to talking too much. So it also goes on. And I find that viewers are not complaining. They are watching a lot because now you get that data that they are actually watching. And kya bolo, kya farak padta hai? But the same thing then, the next day, we also put a text version. We summarize it, we publish that. So it goes out in text as well. With the text, there is a link of the video. So if you want more details, you can go to the video. We also share this on social media. But the other thing we do now, for example, Off the Cuff, which is our interview series. What we do from Off the Cuff is, it is watched a lot. If you go back and see, say something like Raghuram Rajan, it's been watched about 2,15,000 times or something like that. It's also been watched for a long time because the average time is available to you. Now, after it's been up for 2 days, what we do is we take out, say, 10 clips from it. 10 of the most interesting clips, each one of less than a minute, and just share them on social media, essentially on Twitter. And you will find these going into tens of thousands of views. In fact, some have gone up to 100,000 views. So you can use the same thing over several platforms. I think the beauty of the new technologies is that they are so easy and they are so flexible that they really force multiply you.
Right. And then so from there, that a little bit about the media and then the news environment in India. And today we talk about in the context of rise of digital journalism and rise of television. Of course, we say that it's a very small audience segment, but because of the digital presence it can reach to many more. So of late, from late 70s of Indian Express to today's News India, that we have been the word media trial. That means some of our students wanted to know from you. You have seen that side and now you are seeing this side. And from print media trial to television media trial to digital and everybody's media trial, how you see that the news ecosystem is getting impacted. News ecosystem, when I mean to say fourth pillar, the way we have studied all of that. So how it's getting impacted, the idea of sensationalism and news trial into this context?
News trial has always been a reality, but today it is a much more serious problem, mainly because of TV. Because on TV, you have 5 people saying the same thing, and they can convince the believer that so-and-so is guilty or so-and-so is not guilty. Now, in India, judicial process takes a long time. It costs a lot of money also. So by the time you get your vindication in court, your lifetime may pass. It may be too late to be of any use to you. On that day, see what was done, say, to Shashi Tharoor on a particular channel by a particular anchor. He was accused of killing his wife. The police never made that accusation. Until today, that accusation has not been made by investigators of the police. But for a lot of people, he's guilty of murdering his wife. But there is no evidence, there is no charge, there is no inquiry, there is no investigation. So this is the new problem. And what happens is that this is then further strengthened on social media, because social media now, many people, political parties, many groups have armies. And I don't want to call them all bots because they are not all bots. These are real armies. We just saw that sequel. We saw some funny stuff on OTT. Now that we've learned to use it in a not very young age. So we saw this sequel to Borat. Borat goes back to America with his daughter.
Right.
What they do when he comes back to Kazakhstan. Apologies, Kazakhstan. It's a nice country. They come back and they are saying, and there's a reference at the very end to people working on Twitter to write tweets to interfere in American election process. So countries like Kazakhstan, Macedonia, right? Many of these countries now have, just as you have your outsourcing companies in India, they have outsourced Twitter troll companies. Twitter and Facebook, people are just sitting there all day and doing this stuff. So once somebody says so and so killed your wife, I'm using this killed your wife especially because that is the old metaphor. That what kind of journalism do you do? Did you kill your wife? No, I didn't. Shekhar Gupta says he didn't kill his wife. Right? So that is what this combination of media trial, TV, and social media is doing now. I would say that by and large, print is still immune from this.
And then, so from a consumer perspective, Mr. Gupta, don't you think it's actually a real problem from a chaotic to cluttered, now controlled? And so either a right example, you have given the Shashi Tharoor killing his wife, and today it is also trending in Twitter, because whenever he will put anything on a video format, because he just tweeted, I think 10 hours back, something on the 49 years of celebration and all that. So that, it is trending. But point is, it is chaotic, it is cluttered, but it is controlled. And it is beautifully controlled the way it is giving a consumer's perspective. And so to put it little business perspective also, we go by volumes, and so there is a major share come from advertisement and different kind of advertisement, I would say, or else Badshah would not pay 1,75,000 lakhs to get some likes in his video. So in that context, consumer is monetized, consumer is controlled, and trolling is happening, and they are the real challenges of the volume versus value business of media. So how you see, because I remember your the then interview 2004 of the then CM of Gujarat, and putting some uncomfortable questions to put it in a no ball wide ball segment, and a no ball wide ball segment now we are seeing it, what you are doing and what you have done, I think 16 years back, and how you will manage when and that time digital was not controlled, the television was not controlled. When it is controlled, how you create a balance? Because consumer are not there.
Look, there are controls and controls and controls. So there are many challenges today. There are many controls, and pressures are more than ever before. That is something that's well known. I happily acknowledge that, or unhappily acknowledge that. But if anybody says that pressures are so much that I have a great story, and I cannot publish it because I have pressures, that is a little bit unreasonable, because there are ways around that also, even if your organization cannot publish it. So that is not, we haven't reached, we are not North Korea yet. We are not even China yet. So we are not even Turkey yet, and thank God for that, right? Turkey is a democracy. So let's not go there. I think that I take your other question also, that is volumes, that advertisers will go by volumes. But all of you know the story of Hanuman, Lord Hanuman.
Yeah.
So I say that why does everybody become a victim of the Hanuman syndrome? Now, with great respect to Lord Hanuman,
it's recording, sir.
Folded hands. What happened? When Lakshman fell unconscious in Lanka during the battle, he had to go to Kailash Parbat to get one booty, right? One jadi booty, one herb. Now he goes to this mountain and he doesn't know which herb, isn't it? So he brings the mountain. Then somebody takes out a herb, and then the work is done. Now, he was Hanuman, he is God, he can afford to bring a mountain, right? And you can choose. Everybody is not God, everybody is not Hanuman. So what if instead of bringing you the mountain, I bring you the jadi booty, I bring you the exact herb that works. And that is what we have tried to do with our audiences. I will not tell you, enough time has passed between my having worked at the Express and left it. More than 6 years have passed, so I can tell you this. one of the things we told our people, look, you can never fight Bennett Coleman, etc., for numbers. If you try and up those numbers, we will die very quickly. We are dying anyway. So what is it that we are good with? So don't try, everybody knows cricket. So if you cover drive well, then cover drive more. Don't try to then hook because someone else hooks much better. You can't hook, don't hook. So I said, you can't compete for numbers. Don't even try competing for numbers. In fact, up your cover prices and let your circulation come down and settle it to a level where people are genuinely paying for the paper. Now, why would the advertiser come? So we once carried out, we thought maybe it's good to look for an influential audience. But how do you get an influential audience? How do you reach out? How do you get that booty out of Kailash Parbat? You are not Lord Hanuman or Bhagwan Ram's Ved. Kaise karoge? So we said, who are the people who matter for anybody in India? They are your ministers, top bureaucrats, top generals, top judges, top lawyers, MPs. All of them live in Delhi, right? One city. In fact, all of them live in one little part of Delhi, that is Lutyens Delhi. Lutyens Delhi, most of the in government houses, and also some streets. We said map these streets. So we said map all these streets. So all the nagars, Bharti Nagar, Rabindra Nagar, Kakar Nagar, Bapa Nagar, Satyamarg, all these government colonies where joint secretaries and above live. We said all IAS, IPS, IFS officers, just map how many households. Then some streets, Amrita Shergill Marg, Prithviraj Road, Aurangzeb Road, etc., etc. Jorbagh, Golf Links, all the top lawyers live in Jorbagh, for example. Jorbagh, Golf Links, Anand Niketan, Shanti Niketan, I can count all the names for you, Sundar Nagar, all of Delhi's sort of sexy colonies. They count these and just make sure that each one of these houses in the morning gets a copy of the Indian Express for free. Because, to get them to order is tough. And then people came back and said, the security guards बोल रहे हैं कि हमको नहीं चाहिए. मैंने कहा एक काम करो, हम हिंदी का अखबार इसलिए निकालते हैं जनसत्ता, वो भी एक ले जाओ, बस गार्ड को दे दो, तो वो दूसरा भी ले लेगा, right? Do you know how many doors were these in this category of people? Guess how many? 3,600.
3,000,
yes. So
yes.
with 3,600 copies, in about a few months, our people started going, salespeople started going to PSU captains and saying, boss, who are the ones that matter to you? We love our Panwala, but my Panwala doesn't matter to you, right? So why are you giving so much money to the Times of India to buy Hanumanji Ka mountain when we can give you the hub for a fraction of the price? Because people who matter to you are your board, those on your board of directors, joint secretaries and secretaries in your ministry, your minister, MPs in your consultative committee, judges, the lawyers who go up in front of those judges. Who else matters to you? In this case, at a fraction of the price that you will pay Times and other, we are giving you. So this is a target. Very forgiving, you can do so. He will let you do so. Then you can say it's a targeted drug. Now you have targeted drugs. So you have new chemotherapies that don't destroy the whole body, that just go to the tumor. So this is a targeted drug. So you have to then sell the quality of your audience, which is what we are trying to do at the print also.
No, it's a very interesting insight, and all of our students here, those who are very soon going to get into industry and understand how to get the targeting and ensure the brand presence. And then I'm sure now the people are waiting for questions. Last point from my side before we open up the thing, that rightly so, from volume to value, from platform to purpose. But one thing still bothering me, that one thing is that from volume to value or from platform to purpose, the fine boundary between fake and real news is nowhere existing today. And then instead of more so when we go by the volume thing. If you tweet something, so that nobody is going to think about that whether it is real or fake, and but it has a wildfire. So in that clutter, we are still going to do the business. Our students are everybody, all of are in the business. So the last point that again my favorite editorial of yours, suit me the messenger, and the digital content regulation is going to come. So while ensuring the fake and real, would you like to revisit that suit me the messenger, because maybe time has come that somebody need to create that boundary, because the messenger himself or herself is in a, so I don't know whether they can create the boundary. So how is your response for that?
Boundary is to be created by the audience. Now, very often audiences believe what they want to believe. So then you can't confuse them with facts. Right? Only believe or directly will believe that no matter what you do, you can show any number of satellite pictures that they haven't. Those who believe that the Chinese haven't, they will only believe that no matter how many satellite pictures you show to the contrary. So one is that issue that you cannot help. But most people are not like that. Most people think and they figure out. Now you tell me, when this campaign about this Riya Chakrabarti, etc. was going on, how many people, they were all watching it for entertainment, because after all, it wasn't their daughter or their sister who was being locked up in jail and given all this trouble. How many of them were really convinced that she was some big deal kingpin of the drug circuit in Mumbai? And I was in college a long time back, but to be caught with, I'm told, the 50 grams of hash, crores of Indians, young Indians, will be in jail if you start doing that. So people knew what was going on, right? They again caught somebody with 90 grams of hash. And this at the same time when India has voted at the UN to have hashish, cannabis declared as a less dangerous drug, to be downgraded in the category of banned and dangerous drugs, when America is legalizing marijuana. A lot of Europe is also doing that. So people know the facts. People knew that this was a tamasha. But people watch tamasha. People go and watch movies, right? They know it's not reality, but they watch it. People watch Sacred Games. If you put it to the test of reality, it's a load of nonsense, right? But people watch it. So people also watch a lot of news, one, for entertainment. So entertainment now, unfortunately, has become one of the sort of brand offerings of journalism. And second, they watch it only to satisfy their own prejudices or justify their own prejudices. That you can't help.
Yes, and maybe with this, the news is new escapism for all of us. So irrespective of Riya Chakrabarti or that, we see that in the television screens, 3 million tweets happening, 4 million tweets happening. Thank you, but
don't believe those numbers. Don't believe those numbers. You are not counting.
Yeah.
Don't believe those numbers.
And then with this, maybe so we'll, because we have taken a lot of time, we would open for the questions, and I am sure Professor Mehta would start with some of his questions and to interact. And Arpit, with that, maybe you will collect a couple of questions to interact with Mr. Gupta. Professor Mehta maybe would like to start with his again curious but witty thoughts about the news business in India.
Well, Shekharji, absolutely loved your remarks, in particular, the story that you had about the 3,600 households. I'm a Delhi boy. I grew up in Delhi. I didn't know that the number was so few. I grew up in Lutyens, Delhi, in Sarkari Delhi, but I had no idea that the number is actually so low. It's actually at one level very frightening, that really those few square kilometers pretty much decide a large part of what happens in India. Now, on that note, let me ask you, since you're one of the few journalists in the country who is actually bilingual, right? Who can think in both languages. Can you talk a little bit about how the other half gets heard if literally even their language is not as visible as it should be?
I mean, other half means non-Hindi, non-English languages?
Non-Hindi, non-English, yes.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's a pity that most of us don't know any language other than our mother tongue and English. But the fact is that if you look at languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Bengali, Marathi, even Gujarati, then they have a very well endowed media in their own languages. Malayalam, for example, Malayalam Manorama, Mathrubhumi, fantastic papers and institutions that have respect all over. Hindi, you have Jagran, Bhaskar, but you also have Bharat Times. Hindi Hindustan, again established institutions. Similarly, you have TV channels in all languages. Telugu, big papers, big TV channels. Now, there are aberrations coming in because in many languages, dominant media companies are being bought over or being run by politicians. But people know that also. So it's not as if a politician has the most successful media company, that politician will keep winning all the elections. So, log bhi bewafa hote hain. Because they're clever. They know what they're watching is coming from a particular channel. That channel has an owner. So I think that we may not see what's happening in those languages, but I find even when I go to speak at institutions in these areas, local colleges, schools, I find people very well informed on news. In fact, they are also very well informed on their local and state news, which we are not.
Arpit, would you like to read a couple of questions people have given? Gagan's question maybe, it's not right, because Mr. Gupta, you would get some questions related to numbers, the business and things. Arpit, please go through the questions.
Yes. So, sir, there were a lot of questions. My inbox is flooded right now. I will just try to combine some and so that we can cover most of them. So the most number of questions that we got were about social media, about fake news, and about advertisement and how all of it connects. So essentially, social media is meant to engage you consistently. It's meant to addict you, and it will keep you giving content that you like. It doesn't differentiate if the content is news or if it is an opinion. And that in a way has created a very polarized world for each of us as individuals. So if I am right wing, I'll only get right wing news. That's my reality. If you're left wing, you'll get only left wing news. That's your reality. So how do you as an individual? How do
Because at the end of the day, all of us. But then you have to say to yourself, Chief Justice of India votes, President of India votes, Chief Election Commissioner votes, because all of us are political beings. The challenge of professionalism is that your voting preference should not determine your analysis and definitely not decide your facts. So you have to go with facts whether you like them or not. When India loses a match, and I know I should not be saying it today because tomorrow the new series begins in Adelaide. When India loses a match, we don't like it, but we can't report that India won a match, right? Because that doesn't help anybody. So this is a training that comes with time. When a doctor sees a patient, doctor can't say Hindu ko dekhunga, Musliman ko nahi dekhunga, Christian ko dekhunga, Jew ko nahi dekhunga. A human being is a human body is a human body. Similarly, news and facts are news and facts. So you have to stuff, because this is the battle of ideas, but you have to make yourself as clinical as a doctor.
So this is from Milan, and he says the farm bills are not actually as bad as they are being made out to be, as pointed out by you in the Cut the Clutter episode. Where do you think the central government is going wrong with the bills and with the way they behave with farmers? And a follow-up and another question from Pranav Joshi. He says when in the US, when Trump did something that was not considered moral, was against democracy, the institutions over there stood up to people, stood up to him. In India, we've seen the something as bad as demonetization, the COVID migrant crisis, and yet there has been no dent in the image of our leadership. So So how do you interpret that?
In your second question, even after all the madnesses that Trump did, his image did not diminish with his supporters. He still got almost 7.5 crore votes. These are more votes. He got more votes winning than any president has got in America. He got more votes losing than any winner has got in the past. So his voters remained with him. That is the way people are polarized right now. So if we say that the leader in India also, the image is not dented, it's a function of that. The second thing is institutions. Yes, Indian institutions have disappointed us and they continue to disappoint. See, for example, today the Supreme Court said that, we'll set up a committee to solve this problem between farmers and the government. It is not the Supreme Court's job. Yesterday, they admitted another petition asking for the emergency declaration notification to be declared unconstitutional. Emergency was 45 years back, right? What's the point of doing it? You're wasting your time. But important thing is, you can also waste your time, but if you invest your time doing what is necessary. So there's been that other petition on this anonymous electoral bonds. It came up before 2019 elections. Then the judges said, elections are coming up, elections are too close. We can't look at it just now, but once elections end, we'll take it up. And they said, meanwhile, all parties and all contributors can give their details of what they've contributed in sealed envelopes to the Election Commission. Now, that was a year and a half back. Elections ended May 2019. The Supreme Court hasn't had the time to pick up that file again. And they go on and on with this nonsense. Ye tree ko kyun khada, us tree ko kyun kar rahe ho? Frankly, I also object to Supreme Court now getting involved in whether the new Central Vista be built in Delhi or should not be built in Delhi. Arey, apna kaam karo na. For 3 years, they were running Indian cricket, right? At the end of which, Saurav Ganguly is BCCI chief, and Saurav Ganguly is also endorsing brands on your TV channel. So, kya khoya aur kya paya? So, our institutions have become weaker for many reasons. And today, unfortunately, most of them cannot deal with the pressures that come in, particularly under this government.
So the next one is from Professor Rasanan Panda. He's asking, so what is the thought process and what goes on when you're writing your national interest article every single week?
Well, I think all I can tell you is a lot of confusion. Lot of confusion, and I keep saying, kuch na kuch to ban jayega, kuch na kuch to ban jayega. Then you think, arey aaj is week nahi karte hain, kya farak padta hai? And then you remember the odd friend who says that, when you don't write on the odd week that I might miss, in the morning you get a phone call, aaj kya ho gaya, likhani aap theek thak to ho. So then you think some people like that and somehow motivate yourself. But India is such a fertile country for news and ideas that something or the other always comes up. And when there is nothing, there's always cricket.
So Arpit, maybe in the interest of time, so to be honest, the discussion with Mr. Gupta can go on and on. So we would love to sit for hours.
I have some other fish to fry also.
yeah. So maybe last one question you can pick, and then we can go ahead with Professor Mehta's opinion and close it. Yeah.
Sure, sir. So, sir, it's almost ironic that you just said that India is a fertile ground for journalism. Piyush Goswami says, given that freedom of press rankings in India are really low, and this essentially means it's beneficial for both the ruling and the opposition parties, as the transparency in governance will ultimately be lower. Then how do you think a positive shift towards better journalistic standards will be triggered, especially in the traditional media? Because although you said that TV is sort of dying, but I feel majority of Indians still consume it on the TV. It'll be great if you could also contextualize this in terms of business sense of media houses, because we are business students in the end.
Well, when I say TV news is dying, say TV channels don't make much money from news. In fact, from English news, barring one channel or maybe two channels, nobody makes money from English TV news, and you know which channels those are. You want to call them news channels, it's your choice, right? I can't fight. It's a free country. Still reasonable. In other news channels, say people in native languages, the leaders make money. So in Hindi, the 2 or 3 leaders make money, the rest don't. So a lot of these are run for other purposes. So the owner may be a real estate tycoon, the owner may be a mining baron in one of these states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha. So that's the reason I say that TV news at least is not growing. And also the model has now changed. You can do it all on YouTube for free. That's one. The second is, what was the second question you said? The second part of it.
So the freedom of press in India. Yeah.
Freedom of press in India, and these rankings I might have some dispute with, because these rankings put India behind your favorite country, Kazakhstan. Right? I think so. And countries like that, I think it's behind South Africa, Kazakhstan. I don't know if it's behind Zimbabwe or not. I don't think they'll be as nutty as that. But they have many criteria. Now, I will not take like a national pride view of it. I'll say that there is a lot to be done to make media in India freer. And the challenge for the media, you don't have to see it in terms of the rankings here and there. Then you can always say, oh, I'm better off than Pakistan. But that is not a good argument. So I think the freedom of the press has challenges, and that is why people who've been around, who benefited from journalism through so many decades, people like us, we owe it to journalism right now to carry on and to dig our heels in and to pay back, which is what some of us are trying to do.
So just one last very small question and an observation that a lot of people made, that they love your dogs. I got 7 or 8 messages saying that they want to tell you that they find your dogs absolutely adorable. And the question is, who has been your favorite guest at What the Talk?
Well, that is a very difficult question. Because it depends on the context, it depends on the time. If you ask politically, I'd still say Sonia Gandhi, simply because she had never done an interview before. It was an open interview with no question not asked. Asked in our own way, which is a non-confrontational way, and she opened up also. That's one. But if you really put a gun on my head and say name one, then I would say Ustad Bismillah Khan. And it wasn't even walk the talk because he could not walk. He was reclining on the bed. He was, I think, in his 90s by then. And he had the Shehnai by his side, which he always kept. And if you just watch it, we recorded that in Varanasi on a rainy morning. Please watch it. It's so beautiful because, when I asked him, "Aap Pakistan kyun nahi gaye?" So he said, "Main kyun jata? Unke paas Banaras hai." And then I said, but Islam में कहते हैं कि म्यूजिक तो हराम है. So he said, हाँ, वो ईरान के एक मौलवी ने बोला था कि संगीत हराम है. तो मैंने उससे कहा, भैया जब मस्जिद के ऊपर चढ़ते हो तो संगीत में ही तो आवाज लगाते हो अलग, और संगीत में तो आवाज लगाते हो नमाज के लिए सबको. अगर बोलोगे जाके ऐसे बिना संगीत के, फिर तो ऊपर वाला भी नहीं सुनेगा. So you need music. How can music be against God or Islam? And then he said, as we got more into conversation, so he said कि देखिए मैं तो अब भैरवी बनाता हूँ. अब भैरवी जो है, राग भैरवी, वो शंकर भगवान की कृपा के बिना नहीं हो सकता है. उसके पहले शंकर भगवान से कहना पड़ता है. अब यहाँ शंकर भगवान का मंदिर है, मुझे जाने से मना कर दिया क्योंकि बोला मुसलमान हूँ. कोई बात नहीं, तो हम क्या, मैंने कहा फिर आप क्या करते हैं? कहता है हम ट्रायम्फेंट स्माइल. आप देखिए, यू वॉच दैट इंटरव्यू. ही सेड हम मंदिर के पीछे जाते हैं और पीछे की दीवार पे हाथ लगा के शंकर भगवान को याद कर लेते हैं. उस दीवार के साथ ही तो मूर्ति लगी हुई है दूसरी तरफ. So I, those are moments when I say that I really love my job. And
Yes,
and there are regrets. Professor Rodha Narasimhan passed away just now. I had a conversation with him last year in Bangalore when I'd gone to deliver the Satish Dhawan Memorial Lecture. And since then, I've been saying I have to record an interview with him. I have to record an interview with him. And I kept putting it off. And unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. And I so kicked myself because he's again one of those characters. He was once again one of those characters who could have combined science, astronomy, Indian tradition, Vedic tradition, Western tradition, genuine scholar.
And Arpit, with this, I'm sure Professor Mehta must be very happy by listening Mr. Gupta's last answer, Ustad Bismillah Khan. And may I request Professor Mehta to give the concluding note and followed by the student team, the vote of thanks.
Shekharji, what a treat. I think it's fair to say that you've seen everything, been everywhere, and known everybody. And your passion for news is palpable. That is what we love you for. And yet you have a detachment and a public purpose. I think if I were to summarize you in 10 words, that is how I would do it. So what a real treat. I hope you're wildly successful business-wise in terms, with the print, and that you also spawn, and this is my last wish for you, that you spawn a lot of good imitators. I think that will be very good for India. So, because I think we need many Shekhar Guptas. Unfortunately, there is only one as of now. I hope you groom some maybe in the print or otherwise, I'm sure you have over the years, and that they also find a way to follow you with that same detachment, with that same passion, and with that same public purpose. What a treat. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed myself. And as you know, I could have gone on and on, but everybody has stuff to do. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anuprit and Arpit, maybe you would like to extend
without taking much time, I'll conclude and provide the vote of thanks. We were all very excited for this session. We have been waiting for it, and talking on behalf of whole of MICA, we have been fanboying over you for quite some time. A lot of us are your subscribers on your YouTube channel, and we were eagerly waiting for this session. So thank you, sir, and the whole team at Print for taking some time out from your busy schedule to come to MICA. We really had hoped that this would have been on campus, and it would have been even better. You sure did bring on new perspectives, your wit mixed with a passion for journalism instead of sensationalism. It sure did help us declutter. We hope to engage with you, MICA, with the Print in the coming years as well. And other than that, I would like to thank Mr. Santosh Patra, sir, for giving a direction to the whole proceedings, and so that we could get the best out of this whole session. And finally, President Shailendra Raj Mehta, sir, for those wise words and putting it all together. And finally, I hope everyone had a good time. We sure did. We gained a lot from this session, and we're definitely waiting for more such sessions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.